Hi, and welcome to my video on the inverse of a square root function, part 2. I have one question to do, just made up a question to do some extra. The f of x equals the negative of the square root of 2 minus x plus 4, and the g of x is equal to x minus 2. Find the intersection of the inverse of f and the g of x. So this is a square root function with a linear underneath it, so the inverse of this will be a parabola, and this is a linear. So what we're doing is finding the part of the parabola, because it's restricted, and the line that intersects. So here we go. The f of x is equal to negative 2 minus x plus 4. So here, 2 minus x has to be greater than or equal to 0. So that means the negative x got to be greater than or equal to negative 2. Divide by a negative 1, so x is less than or equal to 2. So the values of x into this square root function has to be equal to 2 and less. So that means we have a 2, we can have a 1, notice we can have a 0, a 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2, and so on. And notice that the range, if x's start at, the point of this parabola, the point of this square root, when x is 2, y is going to be, when x is 2, this is a 0, so y is 4. So the y values are starting at 4, and because they're negative, so the y is less than or equal to 4. So the x values are less than or equal to 2, and the y values in this one are going to be less than or equal to 4. So let's work out his inverse. So y, f of x is a y. Switch the y and the x. So x becomes y, and y becomes x, and x becomes y. So I have an x that's a plus 4, so this makes it a minus. So I move the 4 to the left side to make it negative. Now I'm going to do the negative of each. This is a negative, so I could let the negative stay there and just square, because what happens when you square, this becomes x minus 4 squared, and when you square a negative it becomes a positive, so the root of 2 minus y squared is just 2 minus y. Now we got to solve for y. So y is negative. Let's move the y to the left side, make it positive, and move the square to the right side and make it a negative of that square. So this is a negative, and this y is positive, and the 2 is positive because it stayed there. So notice that the domain is x is less than or equal to 2, and the range is y is less than or equal to 4. So that means that your domain for this is a parabola, but it's restricted. So x is less than or equal to 4, because your range in the f of x is the domain in the inverse, and the y is less than or equal to 2, which makes sense because the y values are started at 2 and they're going down. So now we have to solve, we have to find the intersection. So that means we have to go f to the negative 1 of x to find the intersection is equal to the g of x. Excuse me. So that means the negative of the square root of x minus 4 squared plus 2 is equal to x minus 2. So the inverse is equal to the g of x. Now we'll work out this equation. So we have a square here, so we do the negative of, let's square this bracket. So x minus 2 squared, x times x is x squared, The product is negative 4x doubled is negative 8x. And negative 4 squared is 16. You could do a FOIL of x minus 4 times x minus 4. You get the same trinomial here. This is x minus 2. The negative of this trinomial is a negative x squared plus 8x minus 16 plus 2 equals x minus 2. And we will negative x squared plus 8x minus 14 equals x minus 2. A rule that I do is simplify each side before I transpose. So we'll make it a negative x squared plus 8x minus x minus 14 plus 2. I moved all terms to the left side because I have a quadratic. So that makes it negative x squared plus almost 7x minus 12 equals 0. I have the x squared negative, so I'm going to multiply by negative 1 on each side. So that gives me x squared minus 7x plus 12. So negative 1 times 0 is 0. Notice the quadratics to see if we can factor this. If we can't, we got to use the quadratic form. X squared is x and x. The product is 12, so the product is 12. P is product. Sum is negative 7. So the factors of 12 are 1 times 12, 3 times 4, or 2 times 6. So what factors of 12 will give me a 7? It must be a 3 and a 4. The product is positive, the sum is negative, so it has to be two negatives. So that means x minus 3 is equal to 0. X minus 4 is equal to 0. So x is 3 or x is 4. Now, it's intersecting in with these two. This is the parabola, and this is the line. So what I'm going to do is write down the line is y equals x minus 2. That's the g of x. So I'm going to put a 3 in here. So y is 1. So that means when x is 3, y is 1. And take the line again and sub in 4. So 4 minus 2, y is 2. So x is 4, y is 2. Again, I could have taken both of these values and subbed them in here. And if I did, they would have still give me a 1 and a 2 if I subbed them into the parabola. So the points of intersection are this point and this point. So just to explain that a little tiny bit further, let's look at the parabola. The parabola has a vertex of right here, this parabola, or look at this equation, it's better here. The parabola got a vertex of x is 4 and y is 2. X is 4, y is 2. So let's say this part. It's the parabola restricted. So we're picking up the less than 4. So it's the part of a parabola, and the parabola is going down, 4, 2, and it's going down. So we have to take the values of x that are less than 4. So we picked up 4, give me a 2. Now I'm going to take a 3, put a 3 in here, and I get a negative 1 squared is 1. The negative of 1 is negative 1 plus 2 is 1. So 3 gives me a 1. Now I'm going to put a 2 in. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. That's the negative 4 plus 2. So a 2 gives me a negative 2. So that's, as you can see, it's the left side of the parabola. Because it's negative, we're going on the left side. So we have the line now intersecting this inverse. So there's the graph of the inverse right there. So if we plot the line is y equals x minus 2, make sure. So this line has a slope of 1, which is 1 over 1, has a y-intercept of negative 2. So if you plot the y-intercept of negative 2, which is here, and the slope is 1 over 1, so if you go up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up one, right one, so hits here, up one, right one, hits there. So this line is passing through these 2 points. So if I draw this line, and again, there's only an approximation, here's the line, there's the line, that's the line, that's y equals x minus 2, and you can see from the graph, if you did graph it, that this point here is 3, 1, and this point here is 4, 2. So the algebra, I worked out the algebra here and got these two answers. So graphing is not always good because it's not always accurate, but in this case it's okay, because just remind that this is the x-axis, y-axis. So I solved it algebraically. Again, to do this, we have to know that the inverse, the range here is the domain of this one. So the domain of f is the range of the inverse, and the range of f is the domain of the inverse. So we had to take the x's less than 4, which means we had to do the left side. Just repeating that again to stress how important it is to know that. So that brings us to the end. And again, if you like my video, click the like button. If you want to be a subscriber, subscribe to my channel if you wish. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. That's the content on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Just one word. Thank you for viewing my video. Hope the video helped you. Bye-bye.